So there's been a big fight between Elon Musk and the rest of MAGA over H-1B visas. And if you don't know what an H-1B visa is, it's something that American companies use to bring in foreign tech workers who at least have a bachelor's degree, and also fashion models. That's right, fashion models. There's actually a carve-out in the H-1B language for fashion models because sometimes you want to import really hot people, but they don't have degrees because they never had to get them because they're really, really hot. So to sum up the fight between Elon and MAGA, basically Elon says he needs H-1Bs to bring in skilled workers to do jobs that Americans can't, and the opposition is like, there's plenty of Americans who can do this work. It's just that whether they're working for Apple or picking apples, foreign workers will do that for way less. Also, a foreign worker on H-1B can't just up and quit without getting deported. And there's one thing corporate America loves. It's an indentured servant. So people were wondering, where's Trump going to land on this? And in a fairly unsurprising betrayal of his working class supporters, Trump was like, no, I like H-1Bs. I always have. That's not true. But listen, this makes perfect sense, right? Because of course Trump supports H-1Bs. Melania was brought in on an H-1B visa as a fashion model. So just like Elon, Trump likes H-1B because it lets him bring in foreigners to do the jobs that no American is willing to do for so little reward.
Tesla has laid off 2,688 employees in Austin, Texas since June of this year. Coincidentally, in 2022 and 2023, Tesla received approval for 2,639 H-1B visas. Wonder if there's any connection.
Donald Trump just asked the United States Supreme Court to pause enforcement of the TikTok ban.
Whilst it is true that Donald Trump has officially asked the Supreme Court to put a halt on the TikTok ban, although we don't know if they're going to listen to that or not yet, I can't help but be cautious and suspicious with them wanting to have some sort of negotiated resolution with TikTok and the timing of the complete utter downfall that's been happening on Twitter over the last few days. Because as I've been saying, I just assumed the reason they remained so quiet on the TikTok ban is that they were gearing up for it and they were going to try and transform Twitter, right, their space, into being like the new TikTok. But you can't do that if the entire app has imploded and turned on you and your party. We need to talk about what's been happening on Twitter over the last couple of days because it has been insane. People have been slowly starting to subtly gain class consciousness, and they have entirely turned on the tech billionaires like Elon and Ramaswamy. In case you forgot, we're both recently appointed co-chairs of the made-up Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE department, who accidentally came out in public for H-1B visas, which are visas that you give for workers that you bring over and they're going to do a job here. Which highly upset all of the red hat boys, right? Because that goes directly against what they want to do, right? They want to remove everyone from our country. But the tech billionaires have realized, oh no, if we actually do that, we're going to have to start paying people livable wages. This is where it starts to get crazy, right? People start asking, like, are there not people here that we could give those jobs? A valid question. And Elon responds, there's a permanent shortage of excellent engineering talent, essentially calling everyone in the US not smart enough to do the jobs. So MAGA's already upset about this, and then someone points out, right, that immigration is a large part of the workforce here in the United States, and they try and run some numbers of the amount of engineers we would need by 2032, which is a crazy amount. And Elon responds, actually, the number is way higher than that. But think of this like a pro sports team. If you want your team to win the championship, you need to recruit the top talent, wherever they may be, for your team to win and for it to benefit the whole country or the team. It's a valid statement. Like, if you want your country to be a leader in things, right, you have to work with the greatest minds. But he's also essentially, once again, telling everyone who's complaining that they're all not smart enough. And then this man asks what appears to be a valid question, right? There's 330 million people in America. Surely there must be some among them that you would deem worthy enough to build your ultimate team. Elon essentially responds by calling him stupid. He says your understanding of the situation upside down and backwards. Of course, he would love to be able to hire Americans. This is not about handing out opportunities from some magical hat. You don't get it. He compares it back to NBA teams again, and then he says there are mental differences. Essentially, he's calling them, again, not smart enough. So while Elon is going on this rant about how all their supporters are not actually smart enough to do these jobs, His right-wing commentator ties it back to economics by saying if Apple can't raise compensation enough to attract domestic talent, then under free market principles, it should be allowed to fail as a company. Which again, Elon goes on to insult him and his intelligence. So at this point, it's pretty much an all-out brawl, with Red Hat supporters turning on all of these tech billionaires, especially with Vivek Ramaswamy now coming into the picture on Elon's side. I'll allow you to pause to read if you're interested, but pretty much he insults Americans again, saying that there's an American IQ deficit, so we just can't fill these jobs. And of course, he starts receiving so much more backlash than Elon. And again, both of them aren't entirely wrong. Like, our country heavily relies on these sorts of visas and work. They just chose to suck up to the party that does not support them and their tech businesses. And now they are directly feeling the consequences of that. But it gets better. Out of the sewer drains crawls Laura Loomer, and I guess what they say about a broken clock being right twice a day is true, because she hits him with the best receipts I think I've ever seen. Because Elon's main defense is that the people on these visas, right, are the highest talent in the world, which is why they are essential to their companies. And so she says this is the average salary of the people who are working on those visas, only $70K per year for this top percent of talent. How is that fair? Through the wrong paths, she correctly stumbles on the point that hardly anyone can afford to live off of that rate every year, and you're paying the most skilled workers, you think, like in the world, that amount? Now, in a weird backwards world, we have Laura Loomer going at it with Elon about workers' rights and basic compensations. And then the Scarecrow from the second Wicked movie herself took some time off from set to chime in and also concerningly make some sense. Ann Coulter came in and said, the real point they're all trying to get at, which is American workers can leave a company. Imported H-1B workers can't. Tech wants indentured servants, not high-skilled workers. Once again, there is still something very much so to be said about these types of workers. They also don't want to address the real issue, which is educating our own youth and offering fair compensation for the jobs. At this point, the argument between the Red Hat crowd and the billionaire crowd is getting super heated, and one of my favorite responses I must highlight was Laura Loomer reminding Elon he literally just bought his way into Donnie's crowd like 5 minutes ago, dude. Like, who do you even know here? And then in a fiercer final blow, Laura Loomer says this, which I'll let you pause to read the whole thing, but she really just highlights that, remember, Elon actually doesn't even belong here. Like, bro just showed up 2 minutes ago and thinks he runs the class now. After that deep blow, Elon went around and started removing the Red Hat people's check marks and kicking them out of the monetization program. Because remember, he's all about free speech, just not against him. And so many large figures have gotten in on this drama that this video could be 2 hours long, but another really important part is that another drama is happening at the same time on that platform, which is that people are finally somehow starting to realize that Don Don's plan is to take away a lot of the benefits from the lower income class of people, which is a very large part of the people who supported him into where he is today, and they are freaking out. Gee whiz, if only people had tried to warn you for like several months, repeatedly, over and over again. I'm going to do what we learned in preschool, which is I have nothing nice to say about that, so I'm just going to say nothing at all.
Well, that didn't take long. MAGAs are in a civil war with each other right now. Apparently, according to Heather Cox Richardson, a very smart historian from the United States who writes a newsletter, which you should definitely check out, there's like two sides of the MAGA camp now. One is the low information white voter who is definitely immigration negative. And then there's the tech bros, which helped Trump get elected because they spent a lot of money on his campaign, like Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy and people like that. And they are all into creating more places for immigrant tech workers to come to the United States on temporary visas, which of course upsets the MAGA crowd, the America First MAGA crowd, because they are just saying things like, well, why do we need tech people from overseas? I thought there was all kinds of tech people being laid off recently. Why aren't we hiring them? And then the tech bros are saying, yeah, well, the American engineers aren't as good as the foreign engineers. And, and then the MAGA people are going, well, we like our engineers white. We don't want brown engineers here in the United States. What about America first? So this thing is getting a little bit ugly. In fact, Vivek Ramaswamy said, and he posted that tech companies hire foreign-born and first-generation engineers rather than native-born Americans because American culture has venerated mediocrity over excellence for way too long. A culture that celebrates the prom queen over the math Olympiad or the jock over the valedictorian will not produce the best engineers. He called for more math tutoring, fewer sleepovers, more weekend science competitions, fewer Saturday morning cartoons, more books, less TV, more creating, less chillin', more extracurriculars, less hanging out at the mall. Well, may I ask, what is more American than hanging out at the mall? Go MAGAs. Go. Get each other. You can do this.
Let's just be very clear. There's nothing wrong with people who are not from this country coming here, making a better life, contributing to the American fabric. Okay, that's something I fundamentally believe in. America is a land of the free, home of the brave, all that good stuff that Elon Musk was tweeting about. However, please don't come for Americans. And I would like, let's be very clear, I would like white Americans to stand up. This is your calling card, honey. Where's your banner? Because they coming for you. They said y'all white and lazy. That's crazy.
Well,
that's crazy.
what I
and if
find
I
is
said
interesting,
it, y'all would be coming for me.
Well,
I would never say that because that's insane.
That's the point. What you have happening here is the very thing that white folks have said about black people.
I'm sorry. I just want to know, Vivek was born in the U.S.
For generations. Vivek is now saying about white people, and they don't like it for some reason. Oh, y'all not lazy. Y'all not slow. Y'all not stupid. Well, that's what we've been saying for 400 years, and yet...
Controversies brewing with Vivek Ramaswamy, Elon Musk, in the context of H-1B visas just dropped. Wow. So this situation is concerning for me personally, and I think for many of us should be. They're talking about as much as a 2x increase in bringing in foreign workers to fill U.S. jobs, coveted U.S. jobs in tech within the realm of engineering, which includes software engineering, et cetera, many subcategories within engineering, which is quite broad. This trend concerns me. I would just say that from my personal experience as a U.S. veteran who worked very hard to finish my bachelor's degree, went on to complete my computer science master's, was able to just barely finish with a top GPA, 3.97, and yet it was so hard to land a position, which fortunately a while back I was able to land. And the reason it was so hard, there's so much competition from international applicants that inundate the application process. And even once hired on the team that I'm on currently, it certainly appears that approximately 80% of those I work with are here on an H-1B visa, certainly not U.S. citizens, still ramping up to learn U.S. culture, to, kind of struggling to collaborate effectively across teams within different U.S. structure than what they're used to in their home countries. And all of this makes it not only harder to get these jobs in the first place for U.S. citizens, but once you have them, such as in my situation, to obtain promotions even for lateral moves. And how is this fair? And if we as U.S. citizens apply to these jobs internationally, do we even have a chance to get hired? I would say pretty much close to zero. So looking at a 2x increase makes it that much harder for those that were born here, that work here, that went to school here, to obtain a job within their own country and end up taking subordinate roles that instead go to international workers that come in. I don't see the competitive edge in terms of skill set. Those I work with are skilled. I value the skill sets of foreign workers and the talent and the commitment, the work ethic. I absolutely do. I've got those things too. Many U.S. citizens have those things too. I would say a heck of a lot do. And a heck of a lot that do can't find work. So I think we have a heck of a lot more work to do internally within our country to fill roles with people that are just as qualified domestically before bringing in a big influx of international workers. That's my opinion. What do you think?
I want to know what you think. What is your opinion about this situation? What platform did you hear about it on? Because I don't know if mainstream media is covering it. However, what's your opinion on immigration? Are you for immigration? Are you against immigration? I would love to know your thoughts. Once again, thank you to all my subscribers. I love each and every one of you. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do that. It's completely free and it supports the channel. In my personal opinion, this whole thing seems like subterfuge, deception, and chicanery at the highest level. All of these people against immigration were compelled to vote in a certain way, yet now their representative group is saying that immigrants are better than them. What? In your own country? In your own country. I'm an immigrant, so I got my own opinion about immigrants. But those people, they're colonial settlers' descendants. So to them, I don't know how they feel being told that the immigrants are smarter. I don't know how they feel about that, but I think it's very comical. So I'm cackling on the sidelines with my popcorn at this situation. I absolutely love it. But let me know your thoughts in the comments and check back in again for a new video every week.